Hello, hello.
What's good, Christo? How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. We are live from where are we today? Burlington Cafe Nero. Yeah, that's where we are today.
Nice. I am in my office as I always am. Andres is always in a new location. Christo is um
Yeah.
always just at home. How are you doing?
I'm good, bro. You always gotta disguise for the enemy. You never know you never know who's following.
This is this
No.
is actually this is actually just a green screen. This isn't where I actually live.
No, bro. I mean, I'm sure you could probably either find me at a Starbucks, a Nero, like if you're really looking for me.
Yeah.
Um, I'm good.
Any
I'm
any
good, bro.
coffee shop.
Any coffee shop.
How's Luke doing?
I texted him. He didn't tell me what happened.
Oh.
You should tell me what
I
happened.
don't I don't know. Does he play on Sunday for you?
I mean, yes, but I don't know why is that not gonna happen.
No, I don't know. I don't know if he'll have the confidence to ever step on a field again.
Is
I'm
his
worried.
was
I'm
his
worried for him.
was his
This
dignity left
this
at the
Meg
complex?
was the best Meg that's ever been Megged. This was
Is
a
it is
good
it one of
one.
those where like your legs are actually closed and somehow it
It's
still goes through or no?
it's one of those where you're going for a Meg and he knows you're going for a Meg.
Uh-huh.
Like when you see like the people who are like playing on the street, like with the ball, like, and their goal is to meg the other guy, and the other guy
Uh-huh.
knows that the goal is to meg the other guy, and they still get megged. Oh, it was too good.
Wow, he must have been
Um,
so angry.
yeah, he was pretty pissed.
Oh my goodness. Let's talk about this week. So, Champions League. Any thoughts?
Oh my goodness.
Any thoughts? Like we're surprised, but like, are we supposed to be surprised?
I um I had a different
Were you,
team
were you,
winning.
did you see? Okay, which one were you going to talk about?
I mean,
Every game.
Liverpool, like the thing is, like, it's a good comeback, but at the same time, like they won the first game 2-0. Like they were still in it. Like I wasn't shocked even that, like, it's a good comeback. But
I was
like I
shocked at
was,
the first half more
yeah.
than it was. Yeah.
But like like they had 45 minutes to turn it around, and they turned it around, and
Yeah.
all they needed, like, they ended up winning, 3-2 even that game, but like all they needed was one goal still. Real
Yeah.
Madrid, I'm still in shock. I
I
still
was,
I still don't honest like I kind of don't believe that it happened, because
how do
this
you
is
explain that?
I don't even it's
If you're a Manchester City fan, you're sitting there trying to figure out what happened. What do you blame the coach? Do you blame the players? What could you have done different as Manchester City? Or how do you explain
sometimes
how do you
sometimes
explain it?
it's just written.
It's
It's
just written
just it's
sometimes.
just
Is it
written.
not all the time?
Not all the time. But I had this one of my friends' dads actually was talking to me about why it always seems like big teams win in like the dying minutes of a game. Like, like Fergie time. Like United would win all the time in like the 90th minute, or like in stoppage time. And it does seem a lot of the time like that's when the big teams win. Like I was watching, like, sometimes I'll be watching like a random game. Like earlier this year, I think Chelsea was playing a game against, it was like Leeds or someone like that, Brighton maybe. And it was like a slow game, and then Chelsea just managed to snag the win right at the end. And it was just like, I feel like this happens a lot. And it's like, do the big teams just get lucky? Do, like, the teams that win, they end up winning? And it's
Is
like,
it luck?
that's why, when you see, like, when you watch a movie and the main character survives this and then this and then this,
Yeah.
and you're like, God, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think I like read this somewhere once, and someone was like, yeah, that's why they're the main character, because they survived that and that and that and that. It's not they survived it because they're the main character. They're the main character because they survived it, right? And that's kind of like how I think about teams that are able to win games from impossible situations. Like for me, I'm not betting against Real Madrid in the final. I don't care.
Ever.
I think Liverpool,
Ever.
well, ever in a Champions League ever again. But like, I think Liverpool is objectively a better team. I think
every single team that they face is a better team.
Yeah, but
I felt like Manchester City won, but Real Madrid is in the final.
Yeah, it's crazy. But like, I think Real Madrid are the main characters of this year's Champions League.
I think they're the main characters of soccer. I've seen the moments happen. Like I've seen it with Liverpool. I've seen it with Ferguson. Even City when they did the 100 points, there was a few games that they pulled that off.
Aguero,
like that's insane. But I've never seen it so consistently in the same gap of time. And then when I look at the big picture of soccer, I've also never seen it like I've seen it with Real Madrid. Like when Ramos scored that against Atletico Madrid, and then he would do it in Clásicos. I don't know, man. Like as a coach, it's a really difficult thing to look at, because I would like to be able to teach that, but it's tough to teach something that you can't measure or see or touch. And I don't know, like, I don't understand how.
It's crazy. I saw like some meme today where it was like, this is what the final is going to end up being. It's like Liverpool 8, Real Madrid 9, and Liverpool like score like the 5th minute, 10th minute, 15th minute, 20th minute, whatever. And then it's like 90th minute, Benzema, 90 plus 1, Rodrigo, 90 plus 2. And it's like it's actually this Champions League run. This is the most impressive run to a final I've ever seen.
Ever. I've never seen something like that.
Or in a World Cup or almost anything. Like I've never seen them they're just winners. They just
I really don't know how you can, like, I remember when Liverpool won the league. No, when City won the 100 points, I heard all of youth soccer. I think I went to the convention that year. Everybody's trying to play like City. And so you look at the tactics, the high press, the possession, whatever. I think 2 years later, Liverpool finally beat City. And then everywhere in the convention, you see
pressing.
How to play like Liverpool, pressing and a little bit more direct. And so now Real Madrid, how do you replicate that? Just I don't know. And I think I'm not a Real Madrid fan. I actually like when Real Madrid loses, but this time around, they didn't have Ronaldo. They didn't spend a lot of money. They don't have, I think, someone that everybody talks about as the best coach, which I think there was a video of Ancelotti asking Tony, Kroos, and Marcelo for what to do or who to put in, which was amazing. I think is the highest level of coaching when you're okay with putting another brain and you're actually bringing everybody together. I think they redefined so many approaches to soccer. And I think it humbles like a coach like Pep, who is seeking for absolute control of the game. I don't think Ancelotti seeks. He can't even control his right eyebrow or his left eyebrow. I don't know which one. I don't know which one it is. I had never thought that was like. I would like to be a Real Madrid fan. Like, I can't imagine. I felt good. I felt good for every Real Madrid fan that got to experience that because it was beautiful to see. It's like when you watch the movies, like, I don't know if the Rocky Balboa movies, like it's done, it's over.
Yeah.
And but like that's a movie, like it's written, like it's actually like that.
That's what I'm saying. This Champions League season.
This was real life. unless it
it's
was planned, but I don't
it's
think it was.
scripted, like, and it's not written by, like, it's I'm not saying, like, there are definitely like controversies and stuff, and people are like, will always point fingers at referees or VAR or
But
whatever, but
yeah.
the controversies aren't like that big to me, but it's just like,
No, no.
it's like when things go well, like, and I think like that break against PSG, where PSG kind of crumbled and Real Madrid, didn't give up, and they were still in there. And now that belief is there. And once that belief is there, like, have you ever played a game where you just think like, I could do anything and it'll work? Because like the first time you get the ball, like, you know, I've like scored goals from like the most horrible mishits of my life, but like, it doesn't matter if it was a mishit or not. Like sometimes, like, when you mess up and things still go your way, when Real Madrid plays poorly and things still work out for them, like you feel like you are the main character. Like you'll survive anything.
I don't get it. And it was like interesting because there was three moments in each one of those games. And I think Real Madrid, I think that what they do well is they grab onto, I think you mentioned it in TikTok, momentum, and they capture these because it's not even like luck or bad luck. Like I think Vinicius had a sitter that he missed. And so when people say like, oh, if City scored all the goals that they should have scored, well, Real Madrid also missed at very important points of the game. But I think against PSG, I don't know if you remember Mbappe's amazing goal that was taken away, where he like scissored Courtois. And from that moment on, it was almost like Real Madrid was like, oh shit, like
we're still in
something's in our favor.
Yeah.
And then against Chelsea, Marco Alonso's goal that was counted off handball, I think.
Yeah.
That would have killed the game. I mean, you never know with Real Madrid, but it was that moment that they were still down by 2, but something switched. And then I think with City it was Grealish when Mendy took it out of the line. So it was these really small moments that you would have took it one way, and for them it was like they scored that first goal they needed. And I think it talked about like there's more to soccer than goals. Like there's small moments that can actually continue to build up. But no, man, I think like some people say like, oh, that's soccer. It's a beautiful. I was like, I don't know if it's soccer. It's Real Madrid. You don't like. I don't know. Like it was something unique to watch.
Yeah, it's definitely something special.
Before we move on to whatever we're actually going to talk about today, can Liverpool do it? If there's somebody that can do it, is it Liverpool?
I think that like Liverpool is a very good team, and on paper I would have them as favorites 100%. But having seen what Real Madrid has done, they're not it's not going to be over until it's over. And I think Real Madrid, I don't know. If Real Madrid beat all these teams that they beat playing well, I think Liverpool will still be like, no, we're a better team all around. But given that they've won not playing well, it's like there has to be some sort of insecurity. That they're like, how do I prepare? Yeah, because like City did so many things right. For a lot of, and it's just like, and like Pep obviously gets a lot of blame, but it's like I don't think there were many mistakes that he made that like cost them the game. Really, I think like I think just like sometimes things happen and you just have to like throw up your hands and be like, okay, that was incredible. Like some of those moments, can't do anything about.
Anyways,
on to what we're actually talking about, and it's a good segue because we're going to be talking about the most impressive thing we've seen a player do in person. So obviously, we could talk about a lot of different things we've probably seen on TV, but now we'll bring it a little closer to home. I think you are up first if you're good with
Yeah, yeah,
that. Yeah. All right.
yeah, yeah. So I guess it was a as a coach. I think that one of the qualities that I would say I have is I'm able to see something that players have inside of them that they haven't fully developed or done. So like sometimes it's hard for me to be impressed because I think so highly of my players, and there's like small little moments that I've seen it either in the warm up or in a scrimmage or in an actual game that can be easily missed. So um, it I don't get impressed very easily, not because I'm a good coach, but because my standards are very high, but because I cherish every little thing that my players do. And I've already seen them small cap moments of it. It's when they start to do it more often that everybody starts to see it. But I think one of the things, it was in an indoor game. Um, I think it was this winter, and I have a player that defensively, I can tell him everything that he should do defensively, like on a board with cones, pull him aside and show him, and he's not gonna do it, no matter what, no matter what. You know him, Sam. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
and and um, and so we were down, I think, 4-2. Yeah, we're down 4-2. Um, but Sam has something that he can score goals like no other '07 that I've seen. Um, I don't know how he does it. And like he doesn't need to look at the goal. He doesn't have to make it look pretty. He'll toe poke it outside of the foot, inside of the foot, one time it, head, shoulders, knees, toes, anything. And so I was like, okay, I put Sam in. It could easily go 6-2 against us. Or I put Sam in and he smacks 3 goals in and it's a goal. And so I was like, it's an indoor game. Put Sam in. I put him in. He touched the ball 3 times and he scored 3 goals. Um, and again, like I know maybe we're looking for like this amazing dribbling, like Messi took get Getafe or Maradona took all of England. Yeah, those are great moments, I think. But I don't know. I just think it's something that like I like it because it's something that I can't coach. It's something that like it pushes me where like, and because like I said, like I see it in practice or I see it in other small moments. It's not something new, but when he does it in an actual game, it's a little bit more rewarded and more special. But um, I think that it makes it so that as a coach, it humbles me, and it's like, yeah, you can help them, but like they already have all the tools. You just gotta unlayer them or like remove the distractions and just put them in the right moment in the right space. And so I think he has that. I don't even know if it's finishing, to be honest, because as I start to see that he's getting older and like he's doing it more consistently, one day in the fall season, knowing that he's one of the best strikers or most effective, consistent strikers, we were struggling in net, and he just says, "Coach, put me in net. Next game, like I'll play it first half, and then second half I'll go on the field." And then the next
And
game he
score
went.
3 goals.
And so like there's something about his mentality, and it's interesting to see because I also have it. I don't know if I describe him with talent as much as it is. I don't even know what to call it because we have players that I would say are more talented soccer players. We have players that are more enjoyable to the soccer eye to watch, but he's one of the most effective players. So yeah, I like that because it pushes me to go less into a session just with my ideas, and it becomes more of a journey of discovery of what are these drills going to do that is going to explode one of these things that these kids have as innate talents. and then now I just got to place him. So yeah, so Sam is one in particular scenario. So that's my story.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because a lot of the time we look very much at like a surface level of kind of understanding of like what a good player is. And it's like, they have a good first touch. Can they pass? Can they dribble? Like this or that. Like how good is a player technically? But, as we've talked about a lot, there's so much more that goes in to being a good player than just like being technically good. There's a lot of like, you've talked about like the hidden side of the game, like movement off the ball. I've talked a lot about like the confidence to, to try things. And I think it's interesting because like the more I coach, the more I realize that the important thing that I do is I put kids in an environment where there's a soccer ball. There are, hopefully other people that they enjoy being around. And I let them figure things out themselves in a place where they can make mistakes, they can try different things. And I've gotten more and more away from like telling kids, take a touch this way, pass the ball this way, shoot the ball this way, because I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way to pass or to shoot or to do this or to do that. I think that if you shoot 1,000 times, you figure out how to put the ball in the back of the net. If you take a first touch 1,000 times, you'll figure out how to settle the ball. And it doesn't have to look good. It like,
No.
I remember you telling me like Sam somehow like a couple weeks or like months ago or something, you were like somehow like I think I was asking you like who's the most player you've been most impressed by, and you're like somehow Sam is the most effective player I have, and it's like it's at the end of the day, players need to be effective. Whatever you do. You can do 1,000 step overs to dribble past the defender, or you can drop your shoulder once. If you've gotten past the defender, doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
And
no, I agree.
It's crazy.
I continue to like. We always want to have more. City's a great example. Like they probably had a better tactical plan. They had better ideas. It depends what you define by better, but it seemed like they were more in control of the 180 minutes. But soccer is so much about specific moments, specific plays, and I think there's moments in practice where like Sam has the ball and I'm like Sam, don't, boom, goal, and I was like, damn. And then I look at and I can't say anything because he just put it in the back of the net. I think creating a relationship where like we are okay with that, knowing that like they have something that we haven't given them. The only thing we can give them is the freedom to express themselves. But I think as a coach, I continue to learn that let the player flow, let the player do what he gravitates to, and then work from there. And obviously, you still adjust some things, but I think if we want to turn the players into what we have in mind, and we're just trying to coach ourselves, or we're just trying to relive our soccer or our player stage. So yeah, no, I think Sam is a great example, and I think it's a great, like, it's not to say that he's not talented because he shields the ball. I don't know. I think nobody shields the ball like him in the 07 team. He can go down the line. He can end up getting across out of nothing. So he has a lot of good things, but I'm talking about that innate talent that maybe the 06 have, or not innate, but more like they call it in Brazil Jinga. I don't know if you've seen this movie.
Yeah.
That is just this entertaining, joyful dancing flow that captivates the eye. I don't think Sam captivates a lot of eyes, but he'll get you a lot of wins.
Yeah. No, it's that is crazy. Yeah. So a lot of the time, I find myself, about to say something to a player and then I have to pull myself back, or I say it and then I look like an idiot because they've just scored a goal. As a little bit of a funny example is like, I don't know about you, but I can't tell you the number of coaches. Like when I was a kid, you'd always hear like, don't use your toe, don't shoot with your toe, like this and
Oh
that.
my
And
God.
I can't tell you the amount of goals I've scored, with a nice little
With the
toe
toe,
poke when the space
bro.
isn't there
Yeah.
and you can just jab it. And it's like, how many goals maybe has a coach stopped a player from scoring by saying never use your toe? Like in certain situations, you're not going to toe poke the ball as hard as you possibly can right to your teammate who's 10 yards away.
Mhm.
But, I think there are very few
Yeah,
things that couldn't be effective on a soccer field if you do them at the right time, in the right way, if you're the right player.
yeah. I think we overcoach, we overteach in any space. The again, we talked about like a space of horizontal versus vertical. I think all the spaces we have are horizontal. I mean vertical. In which the person at the top is trying to dictate how to pass, how to shoot, how to move into space. I didn't deal with that as much because playing in the street, like you from playing without rules, you identify that a toe poke finish is one of the best finishes a forward can ever come up. It's one of the smartest things you can probably. Who's the goalie thinking when you're gonna shoot the ball and it ends up hitting the toe? That's I think about 2 to 3 seconds quicker than
Yeah.
the regular release. So the goalie's automatically like just mathematics will
Yeah.
will put it that the goalie has a disadvantage, but it's not gonna look beautiful. And so um, I think somebody told me that once, like, oh, like that kid can only finish with his toe, or like put the damn nail in the ball anytime you need to. Like, I don't care if it looks ugly. But yeah, no. So it's a good lesson, and I think it's also, I mean, it could be taken the wrong direction too by a player, because I do think that there are things that the experience of the coach can help
Oh
you
yeah,
sharpen
definitely.
that in innate talent. So we're not saying go onto the field and do your thing, and then once you score and it's not the way coach wanted, you like, oh, see, that's I can do it better. I think it's a mutual uh, it's a mutual experience in which you both honor each other, you both respect each other, you both learn from each other, and I think you become a better player and a better coach, which then equates to a better team. If you're able to take in, and when you do get things, like when I get things right as a coach, I can't go and be like, see, Sam, I told you so. Which is something that I have to stop myself, and sometimes I still do. Like, Sam, you see. But he takes it really well, which goes back, having a relationship with the individual goes a long way, because I'm gonna say things wrong. Sam is gonna be like, Coach, see, I'm scoring. But at the end of the day, I've worked with him, which is another thing that's not talked about enough. How long you should stay in a similar environment for 2 to 3 years, because it helps cultivate that. I think Real Madrid, for example, Modric, Casemiro, Cross, are pretty much that midfield, and they were all taken out at the most important part of the game, and they were actually helping Ancelotti in the bench,
Yeah.
as opposed to like,
Yeah. I saw
I've
Marcelo
won
too,
five
right?
champions.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marcelo, who's won everything, instead of going on the bench and thinking like, man, like my talent should have won. Like, no, like let's help Ancelotti, and Ancelotti, that he can go to them too. So I think that's something that makes teams untouchable.
Yeah, 100%. All right, we can
What's
hop
your story?
into
What's your story?
my story. So that's something I've talked about on social media before, but basically, and this is from my time as a player. So when I started playing for a men's team, I played with a lot of great players, and one of these guys was one of the craziest guys I've ever met, ever played with, and he used to do this thing. So at the start of every time we would scrimmage, first time he got the ball, he'd turn around and he'd start dribbling to his own net, past his goalkeeper. He'd go right on the line and he'd wait. And we'd send 1, 2, 3, 4 people from the other team to try to get the ball away from him. and he was there like some kind of superhero, shielding all of them off the ball. He was a beast of a guy too. And, shielding all these people off the ball right in front of his own net, for like, 10, 20, 30 seconds, dribbling around them. And he had some of the quickest feet I've ever seen too. And he was like a monster, such a strong guy. And then he'd get bored and he'd pass the ball away. Every once in a while, he lost the ball and we would score, or if I was on his team, we would concede or whatever. But he did this without fail every single time we ever scrimmaged. And this was a good team. This was, we played in the third division in Greece. We had some unbelievable players. And he was doing this. And I remember thinking in the beginning, like, what is he doing? What is this? Is he like thinking this training session is a joke? What's going on? And the coach never said anything. And this was not a coach who would bite his tongue when things weren't going well. He was an interesting guy. I'll leave it at that. But the coach let him do this and didn't even say anything. If he conceded a goal, he didn't care. And it's to this day, like, I don't think I've seen a player dribble like that. And it wasn't even like the fact that he didn't just do it in the middle of the field or something. He went to his own goal to do it. And he was dribbling back and forth along the line, just daring us to try to come and get the ball from him. And I think what it kind of started to make me realize is like, what's the point? First off, like, he needed a challenge. This was fun for him. This was like, he had this huge smile on his face. Yeah. This was like, you could tell he was just loving life when he was doing this. And when he conceded a goal, he'd be laughing. And
would have killed him.
I know. And but he needed a challenge. And what was the point if he wasn't going to risk conceding a goal for that? And I don't know. It's just and then he'd go in games and he'd be the best player as well. And he wouldn't dribble in front of his own goal, but and he was a defensive midfielder, and he would control the game, and he was just kind of like an all around incredible player. He could do basically everything. But yeah, it was just one of the most confident things I've ever seen. And it made a lasting impression on me. And yeah, it was
How would you take it if your player did that? If you had a player that did that in your session?
I mean, Luke does it sometimes. You should have seen Luke last night. No, but like, I think it's like players can do a lot of different things. And what a coach kind of needs to understand is where it's coming from. So if players start taking the training set, and he would do this once, he did this at the very start of the scrimmage. And then for the rest of the scrimmage, he was the best player. If you conceded a goal, I doubt he lost very much, when we were scrimmaging. So if they started one goal behind, he would easily make up for that. So I think like knowing this guy, you kind of like understand why he's doing it. Because he loved the game, and he loved doing this. He loved showing everyone else that he was the best player on this team, and no one could compete. Didn't matter who you sent to try to win the ball back from him. he was keeping it more often than not. And then, there's four of us at a position. He'd pass around us and his team would go score a goal. But I don't know. Like I can see myself getting annoyed at first if a player did that in one of my training sessions. But if I knew the player and I knew kind of like, that they're taking the whole 99% of the session as seriously as possible, but they want to do something crazy, they have to try, you have to try crazy things to kind of figure out how good you are, right? You always have to try something you're not sure you can pull off. And I know a lot of players do that in like individual training, like say like you're trying to learn like a new freestyle trick or a new, something to do in a 1v1 or something. But like you need to do that stuff in your team sessions too, I think. There needs to be like space for that, to do something that, challenges you and maybe you'll fail while you're doing it. So I don't think, as long as you're not doing it all the time, I think I'd probably be okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a hard time, but I think you said something important. You said understanding where that's coming from.
Yeah,
I think was very important to look into, not just for a moment like that, but like when I have a player yelling at his teammate. Obviously, the instincts to like tell him to not yell at his teammate. But it's also an opportunity for me to understand where is that coming from, which teammate is it, why does he say it to this teammate and not this teammate. It's more like, it's always more likely for him to yell at a teammate that is not as good as him, than to yell at a team that he feels is as good as him or better, and he won't say the same thing with the same aggression maybe. And then I also notice him saying it to himself. So understanding more of like where is it coming from. Then you maybe it's in a moment where like for your teammate, it's more like maybe we need to find a way to create a drill that's significantly more challenging for him.
Yeah.
So you do like
he needed better teammates.
An inverted rondo where it won't be the guy in the middle has the ball.
No, and I think like it's interesting because like I'll get asked this question if I'm like doing maybe like an interview or something, but like how do you deal with a player saying something negative towards you as a coach? And my response is always like, I want to know why they're saying it. I want to sit down and talk with the player, because I know like when I was a player, I would disagree with my coaches a decent amount of the time. I've said things to coaches that I probably shouldn't have. But like, I know even coaches I respect, I know where I was coming from when I said those things. And there was some truth that I could see that like this drill we're doing is stupid, or like this formation is just so dumb. And you need your players to kind of be bought in. So you want to talk with them and kind of understand where they're coming from with that stuff. And I honestly think just for this player, he needed, because he was so good, he needed to test his limits somehow. And that's the way he found to do it. And that's crazy. And it's crazy because like we were a good team too. Like I don't know. I gotta find this guy and have a conversation with him about it sometime, because it's like, I've seen players do a lot of great things in games or wherever. But
how was he as a person? Like, did he seem? I'm guessing he wasn't timid, or was he an extrovert? Was he overconfident, or
he was?
Why did you laugh?
No, he was crazy. He 2-footed tackled me in a rondo, first session I ever had with the team. He was doing shots and smoking a cigar in the locker room at halftime. Um, he was a
It sounds. I mean,
character.
I don't know. Does he? Do you think he listens to this?
um, I don't know how good his English is. Uh,
Oh, damn. Then I can't even
un,
comment on it
un,
because I.
unfortunately, it might
Unfortunately. Well,
maybe
no.
it's gotten a lot better, but who knows? But yeah, he was a crazy guy. But at the same time, there was no one I would rather want. Like if I could handpick a team of players I played with, there's no one because kind of going back to like almost like when we're talking about like Real Madrid, like there's no teammate I'd rather want because when he was like a warrior on the field and he's technically an unbelievable player, but he played as a defensive midfielder. He was putting in the hardest tackles out of any of us. He was probably covering more ground than any of us. And he cared so much about the team, about the players there. He used to I remember he pulled me off when we were scrimmaging once to talk to me for like 10 minutes while the scrimmage was going on and my team had to play down 2 players because we were both off the field. And he was just talking to me and trying to explain to me why my positioning I think was really, really bad because he was playing the defensive mid. I was the right back. And he was telling me what I was doing that was so wrong. And he was talking to me for 5 or 10 minutes. And then we hopped right back on the field and played. But he was a leader on the team. He wasn't the captain, but he was probably because he got too many cards or something, but he was a leader and he was very outspoken. He get in arguments with the coach sometimes, but it's because he was one of the most passionate players I've ever played with. And I think that's the thing that there's a lot of players who do things at training sessions because they don't care. And I think you could tell, or I could tell at least when this player was dribbling around in front of his goal. It wasn't because he didn't care. It was because he cared. In a way. I don't know.
Interesting. No, I mean, you have to be there to be able to feel it. Like if he goes and does that in a new environment,
Yeah.
I don't know that the environment will let it happen. I think there's so many parts of that equation
but you have to
that help you.
But you do something different, right? You test yourself in other ways in new environments.
Yeah.
And as you become more comfortable, you need to find ways to make yourself a little bit more uncomfortable. Right.
Yeah.
So, obviously you're not going to show up to a trial and play,
Yeah, I think it's almost like he's earned the right to do things that may be a little bit out of the norm. Which I think again, it should go both ways. Like the coach should feel okay with doing something like that, and the player should feel okay with doing. If you've created the right relationship and environment every game, every training session, there should be moments where you're like, "What the hell is this player doing?" But let's see the outcome. Or the players be like, "Why is coach doing that shit again?" But then somewhere, but you know what? It's coach. Let's see what turns out. I think that's a healthier approach, which is not common. It's either the players run the show or the coach runs the show, and Real Madrid has shown that
it can be
they
both
run the show.
Yeah. And I think that's I think that's just so great. Because I think a lot of players have egos and coaches have egos, and you can't I talk a lot about confidence, but I think the idea of you can be confident in yourself without thinking everyone else, especially your teammates and your coach, are have no clue what they're doing, right? And someone said to me or asked me, "Can you be overconfident?" And I think you can believe you're better than you are. But Well, it's funny because like I think you cap yourself, like you max out at however good you think you can be. So if I only think I can be this good, that's as good as I could possibly be.
Yeah.
Whereas like if I think I can be this good, I might only get here, but I'm better
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
if I
Yeah.
think I could only be this good. Kind of like if that makes sense.
No, for sure.
Yeah, and I think like having an ego doesn't necessarily mean that like you think everyone else is crap, or being confident doesn't mean you have to think everyone else is useless or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's a trait that I think should have the right leaders around. Because some people have the ego that it's not ego, it's just insecurity, and they just want to find a way to make sure that they don't feel themselves less than the people around them. But if your ego is only competing against yourself, I don't think it I don't think it's harmful. Um, as long as you're not harming the environment. Um, and understanding that like it's a fine line. Like, yeah, I'm looking to be better every day, but I also have to remind myself that this is the best version that I have ever been. Because if you're only looking to be better, then you're acknowledging that you're not good enough today every single day. And so that's why you need those both of those pulls. And I think part of the ego is like sometimes like I was talking with I think my sister. I don't even know if I can go in deep of this conversation because it'll go too far. But we're talking about the idea of like I'm good, or like why shouldn't we long to be better? Which is it's a phrase that you cannot say right now out of context. And everybody's like, well, then you want to be worse. And then I was like, I'm too good to be better. And here goes my Christian my Christian nugget. It's only an act of worship for me to think I'm too good to become better, because I'm only magnifying the creator's ability to create me. So starting at good, it's so good that any better that I perceive I can get to is not better than the actual good. And so what would it look like if you walk into every single room feeling and believing that you are that good? I think it changes everything. But then the execution of it, obviously, it's a question mark. Like, am I doing it with like, I'm good, I'm better than that, or I'm better than that? I was like, no, I'm just understanding the harm and the unhealthy actions of that. But no, I would say overconfidence anytime versus the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. So like the player was like, if I honestly thought I was as good as Messi, would wouldn't I just be deluded? It's like, maybe you'd be deluded, but you'll also be a lot better than you think you are, or you'll be a lot better than you are right now. If you thought
Yeah,
you were
yeah,
as good as Messi and you just went out and played like that, you wouldn't be as good as Messi, but you'd be
yeah. Have
better.
you ever had? Yeah, there was this player. I don't remember his name. Well, I do remember his name, but I can't. I don't want to say his name. But I remember like we were looking. It's like this guy really thinks he's better than he is. And he would do all these crazy things, and it would not
Happen.
come out with a positive outcome. And he'll do them again, and he'll do them again. And then I was like, that's the energy I need for any room I walk into, you know. but but we choose to look at that as a negative, like, or maybe I guess speak for myself in that staff. Like, what is he thinking? Like, what does he think he can do all of that stuff? I don't know. It's an interesting. We're coaching brains, but we forget.
Yeah. All right. I think it's time for 3 key takeaways.
There's too much we went about.
Yeah. Well, we talked about Real Madrid.
You want to start?
Yeah, I'll go one from your story. Actually, I think that that a lot of the time, effectiveness is underrated, and we overrate how things look. And I think like, at the end of the day, you can't go into it saying like, this is how I want this certain playing style to look, whether it's like a team or an individual. You're going to have to make some compromises on like your perfect vision of what a perfect first touch is or what a perfect game of your team is, because especially when you're like working within a team, there's so many different factors. It's not going to come out the perfect vision that you have in your mind, but it might be better.
I agree. I was thinking about takeaways, and then that story took me somewhere else. But okay, takeaway. I think you said something really good about the player that would do that. Or no, when I asked you about the environment and if you would let it happen in your session, you said that you should actually evaluate more of where that's coming from, as opposed to evaluate like, is it risky to dribble in front of the net? And I think not even as coaches, but like even for yourself, like evaluate why you do some of the things you do, just to learn a little bit more about yourself. Why is it that I'm always at a coffee shop? Like,
Yeah.
And that might tell me, well, okay, maybe I'm trying to decrease the amount of time from place to place, or like whatever it may be. But like you'll learn something new about yourself, as opposed to just going with the end result, which could be risk the ball and get a goal in, or this guy's too arrogant. That doesn't tell a rich enough story for you to learn from it. So look at a little bit more of where it's coming from, as opposed to where it's taking you.
Yeah, definitely agree with that.
The last one, I don't know. I think the last one has to be something with regards to Madrid.
Yeah, well, I think taking like, obviously we talked about two players that impressed us a lot, and yours was like about like effectiveness, and mine was about confidence, but I think that like and then we talked about Real Madrid and how impressive they are, or were, and I think kind of what I'm getting at is that like, you see Ancelotti taking advice from his players. You see, this player who might be like so confident or so effective. But I think that within that, you need to kind of, you need your coach if you're a player, you need your players if you're a coach. And the relationships we have with other people are what's kind of like going to elevate us from who we are like individually. And I think like realizing that and being, having a little bit of humility sometimes, like with your confidence, I think can be so powerful. Here's Ancelotti, like one of the most decorated coaches of all time, taking advice from his players on the bench. If he's not too good to take advice from other people, neither are you.
Jesus. Yeah. And taking advice doesn't equate not knowing.
Yeah.
It's or a lack of confidence either. Like, it's actually the process of getting to the answer. But for some reason, depending on your title or your position, you start to remove all these things that you're not supposed to do, or else you're a lesser of that position. But I agree with you. That can only elevate you to a higher spectrum of that title.
Awesome. All right. Well, this has been episode 15 of the Infinite Improvement Podcast.
Wow.
Yeah, no, crazy. I'm going to say this or next week's topic. Now, Andres hasn't heard it yet, but it's going to be an interesting one. I like that we just finished out talking about how we should take advice from other people, because now we're going to talk about a time when we clashed with either a teammate or a coach. And, it could have been just like a disagreement, strong words, maybe. Mine will be explicit, or whatever it is. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Yeah. That'll be an interesting one.
Make sure you remind me. Make sure you remind me, because I forget.
Yeah, well, all right. We're on YouTube, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. I'll put some timestamps and links in the description. Check them out. And we'll see you next week. All right. Peace.
You guys.